In the tech world, the month of August is all about foldables. So if it's foldable season, we're not only talking about the Samsung Fold and the Flip, we're very excited about those next week on Tech Today, but this week, I have a very special convertible. A 2-in-1, one of the best flagship 2-in-1s in the market, has sort of gotten better. Or has it gotten better? That's the question we're asking on the show this week. The HP Spectre X360. Is this convertible enough to convert all the Apple MacBook fanboys? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Now, as a daily driver, I use an iPad Air with a Magic Keyboard. You can say that that is not the most efficient, productive setup, but it works for me. And I do this show from that particular device as well. But I think that's mobile, it's compact, and you can travel with it. For a lot of people, this is a very fascinating form factor. A convertible 2-in-1 laptop, you can place it in 4 different ways, this being one obviously. If you're writing, then you can always go pull flat, and it comes with this pen. You can do all sorts of drawing and jotting notes. Then when you want to go into laptop phase is when you turn it around like this and it becomes an ordinary laptop as well. You have other permutations and combinations, but you get the drift. What really does strike out is the design and the fact that they've gone with this nocturne blue color. There's another fascinating copper-like color, which I also like with it. But this nocturne blue color looks really good. It's strikingly very premium. Even the logo placement is kind of cool. It's not a traditional HP logo. It's very different from their baseline of notebooks. But then you have these vents at the bottom, these very cool sharp edges. They make it look a lot like the MacBook Air M2, but then that's only on this side. Very asymmetric because then it gets rounded over here. It feels sort of light. It might be a kilo or so in terms of weight. When you place it out here, there are a few things about this laptop that we've liked. If you call them minor features and software tweaks, look, we're all for good tech here on Tech Today. And there's one elephant in the room which we have to address right at the end of this review, which is, well, sort of a bummer when we're talking about the new Spectre 360. You type in the password and you're here already. It has Face ID and of course it has Touch ID as well. When I say that, I mean it has biometric authentication. But then there are a few features about this laptop that make it very interesting, and a lot of that action is happening here at the top with the camera. The camera becomes a big selling point with this laptop and a lot of other laptops in this price category, even the MacBook. Apple has tried to improve that front-facing camera. I think a lot of this has happened since 2020, when a lot of us have been working from home, working from anywhere, taking Zoom calls, FaceTime calls. Well, that's when this camera scores really high because of some of the software features. The first feature that strikes me is this button, which is a camera blocker, which is a small software hack. It gives you a grill out here, and that completely blocks out your camera with one button here in the function bar. That's really cool. Maybe the others can also take a cue, especially when we're getting so concerned about privacy and security nowadays, as we rightly should. This is a very cool feature. Turn the camera back on, and the minute the camera is on, it obviously has face tracking. It has a lot of AI tools which make it kind of interesting. But then you have HP's enhanced lighting. The minute you launch this app, the entire interface changes. As you can see, I will have a ring light installed on the screen and there's no extra hardware needed. Again, hats off to the guys at HP. They are working on software. What can you do with this light? You can change the field of view. You can change the color that it emits, which I think is kind of cool. And then the intensity can be reduced. The intensity can be increased. I think it's a very cool feature. When a lot of us have purchased ring lights at home, you don't need unnecessary extra hardware. The last time we used a Nothing Phone 1 as a ring light, this time we have it embedded in the screen. That is fascinating, but that's not all. There are other small features with the camera when it comes to noise reduction, autofocus, auto tracking, which make this quite a good 1080p front camera. Now, one thing I really like about this is something that Apple hasn't managed to do yet. Apple has a fantastic iPad in its ecosystem, and then it has a fantastic MacBook. The thing is, a MacBook has no touchscreen, and an iPad doesn't always work like a laptop for a lot of you. That's where these convertible laptops come in, because they come in with advanced specs. For instance, this has a 12th generation Intel Core i7 1255U. It comes in 8, 16 or 32 gigs of RAM options, 512 GB, 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes SSD, and the display gets bright enough when you want it to. The cool part is that this is still a touchscreen. A lot like the Surface laptops that we've had on the show in the past, the touchscreen is there for all of us to use and all of us to see. When you do use the touchscreen, it feels a little weird on Windows 11, which comes with this laptop, because Windows 11, while they did want to make it entirely touchscreen friendly, is still the Windows of yesteryear. It's kind of cool with the layout, but it's not as intuitive as maybe using an iPad or an Android tablet. Now, of course, this is a 13.5-inch display. It gets kind of bright at 500 nits of brightness. And when things aren't working out for you, given that this is a convertible, you can use this as a touchscreen tablet. Now, when you're using the touch, you will obviously want to use this pen, which can be magnetically charged. You can clamp it on a lot like an iPad to the corner. It's all right. It's nothing like an Apple Pencil, but I think it gets the job done. If you're an illustrator, someone who's doing this professionally, maybe you'd want a slightly more professional sort of a setup. But if you're taking notes and doing just fun drawings on it, I think. Well, now let's address the elephant in the room, which is the price. This is a premium laptop by any degree, but premium does not come for cheap. If you want to use this as a tablet, you want to use this as a laptop, you want this 13.5-inch vibrant display, it comes at a price that starts at 1,29,000 rupees. Now that is a lot of money for a laptop, and it becomes a lot more money when you're comparing it to the ultimate OG in this space, if you're okay with that software, which is the MacBook Air M2. Something we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, first on Tech Today, and we told you what it is capable of. That is a monster of a device, and it's nearly 1,20,000 rupees. There's a lot of schemes in the market which would make that a lot more affordable. Even the MacBook Air M1 is in a league of its own when it comes to processing and computing power. This, with the 12th gen Intel chipset, does a fairly decent job if you're using it for basic things, but you're going to spend a lot of money. And at 1,20,000, 1,30,000, anything above 1,20,000 rupees, you would want an absolute monster. Well, let me sum it up for you. If you're on the market for a laptop and a tablet, or a two-in-one, and you're okay with Windows, then this is one of the top premium offerings. A lot like the top-end Microsoft Surface laptops. But if this is not your thing and you want to spend anything upwards of 1,20,000, remember, you are getting into the MacBook Air M2 range, and that is an absolute beast of a machine. The choice is all yours. If you've been tuned into the news of late and you've heard all the updates about 5G, the Spectrum auction, the winners, the bidders, sub 6 gigahertz, low to mid bands, all these frequencies can really confuse you when it comes to all that lingo. We at Tech Today want to break it all down for you. Over to you, Nabila.
That's right, Ayush. In fact, I've been doing some research here, and since there's so much being said about what 5G can really do, I thought it's important here to explain the tech perspective on this show. 700 megahertz, 1800 megahertz, 26 gigahertz. What are all these numbers, you may ask? Well, they're all different 5G frequencies which were up for auction right here in India. The 5G frequency bands up for auction were 600 megahertz, 700 megahertz, 800 megahertz, 900 megahertz, 1800 megahertz, 2100 megahertz, 2300 megahertz, 3300 megahertz, 3500 megahertz, and 26 gigahertz. An easier way to understand this here is higher the frequency, the more the speed. So the types of 5G are broadly divided into two categories: sub 6 gigahertz and MM wave. The sub 6 gigahertz band is further divided into low band and mid band. This low band operates very similar to 4G and in practice would give you a slightly better experience than your existing 4G connection. It's about to get interesting here with the much sought after mid band, so do stay tuned. This is the band where you can get speeds of up to 900 Mbps for a few blocks and works both indoors and outdoors. The best part about this band is the fact that no new infrastructure is really needed, and telecom companies and hardware providers can tweak this existing 4G infrastructure for this, which makes it a lot more cost effective. And then there's MM wave, or what we call the big boys band. Okay, maybe that pun didn't quite work here as planned. But moving on, if 5G is all about ultra-fast speeds and low latency networks, this band is where the magic really happens then. On paper, MM wave spectrum promises speeds of up to 10 GB per second. But in practice, we could at least expect a fraction of that which would be still exponentially better than what 4G speeds really provides that we currently enjoy. Also, these signals are easily blocked off by walls and trees, hence providing limited coverage area. And FYI, there aren't too many smartphones yet that you can buy which support this type of 5G for now. It is important to note that the middle band of 5G is really where the sweet spot lies for Indian telecos and tech companies, because it has the optimum mix of high speed and good range or coverage for consumers. The middle band offers mind-boggling speeds of 250 to 700 Mbps, which is a huge upgrade from our current 4G experience. So if you are looking at buying a new smartphone and are already on Jio, Airtel or Vi networks, then it would be worth your while to check out which band of 5G offered on that device is really compatible with the coverage offered by your network. Let's just say there are interesting times up ahead with 5G, and we're here to keep you updated on Tech Today.
Well, I hope you've been enjoying the first half of the show, because after this short commercial break, we'll be talking about what's happening at Instagram, why are creators so confused, and we have a special Tech Today surprise as well. Don't miss it.
You are watching India Today.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events, the true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter,
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
of those who should matter, I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth, on the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You are watching India Today.
Welcome back to Tech Today. I'm your host Ayush Elavadi, and now we all live in a very globalized world. What's happening in Taiwan can have ramifications for us here in India, especially for the tech and auto sector. We've been battling a chip shortage across the world and even here in India for the last couple of years, but the global supply chain for semiconductors is highly dependent on Taiwan, namely a company called TSMC. So what does this mean for India and the rest of the world? Here's a special report.
Just as the Indian auto industry was emerging from its worst slowdown ever, there are fears the semiconductor supply crisis could return. These images of the latest and most potent weapons in the arsenals of China and the United States have rattled the world these past 2 days, with the industry dreading the prospect of China throttling the supplies of semiconductors from Taiwan. Last year, Taiwan controlled 63% of the world's semiconductor supplies. South Korea, with companies like Samsung, had 18% of the market, while China had 7% of the market share. US and other countries have the remaining 15%. Simply put, the world is dangerously dependent on Taiwan for its chip supplies. The great chip shortage of 2021 startled the industry and the world, which rudely woke up to the fact that their most critical high-tech components were at the mercy of foreign nations. This was what tech major IBM said in a white paper in March 2021. You never want to be in a spot where another nation can control a valuable resource that your nation depends on. The US, wary of the global tilt, passed a mega $280 billion CHIPS Act, which received rare bipartisan support in both houses of the Congress. India, which announced its $10 billion semiconductor policy last December, has only taken some baby steps in this area. The country still imports 100% of its chip supplies.
भारत चिप टेकर से चिप मेकर बनना चाहता है। सेमीकंडक्टर्स का उत्पादन बढ़ाने के लिए भारत में तेजी से निवेश बढ़ रहा है। यानी मेक इन इंडिया की शक्ति और डिजिटल इंडिया की ताकत की डबल डोज भारत में इंडस्ट्री 4.0 को नई ऊंचाई पर ले जाने वाली है।
However, most of India's chip imports are from China and not Taiwan. Ministry of Commerce data shows India imported over $8 billion of digital integrated circuits alone in 2021-22, of which China accounted for over 50% of supplies, a rise of 106% on year. This was followed by Hong Kong at around $1.8 billion. Singapore took third place, supplying chips worth $547 million, while Taiwan came fourth with supplies worth $470 million. Meanwhile, at least two international consortiums have expressed interest in investing in the semiconductor industry in India, with Karnataka, Gujarat and Maharashtra aggressively wooing this technology. While India may not be in the fab picture at present, one of the big advantages it enjoys is its strength in chip design. Nearly 20% of the world's design engineers are Indians, and most are employed by foreign companies in India.
Neil, what a pleasure to have you with us on Business Today, on Tech Today. Neil, just to start off by asking you, if we look at what's happening in the region, especially around Taiwan, now we know in the tech world how much of the global supply chain is dependent on Taiwan, one particular company, especially TSMC. Would you say this is a cause for concern when we really get these nostalgic, alarming sound bells from the past with what happened with the previous chip shortage?
Yeah, we are just coming out of one chip shortage, as most of these foundries like TSMC, which is the leading fab globally, churning out chipsets across everything for every particular product, right from smartphones to PCs to even cloud data storage. So if something happens with respect to geopolitical tension between China and Taiwan, and TSMC has become more strategic in a sense for China with its semiconductor ambitions, and to protect those, it could seriously affect the overall supply in the industry, because if China makes a move, obviously TSMC relies a lot on equipment and technologies from countries outside of Taiwan, which is US, Japan, Europe, and so forth. So if something happens, it's going to be a big blow for the entire industry, not just India, but entire industry. To be specific, 80% of the smartphone chipsets right now are actually being manufactured at TSMC. So, which is huge. And when you add PCs and tablets and so forth, which is growing in terms of semiconductor content, even the data storage and cloud, as we have seen with the recent Intel and AMD earnings, everything is shifting towards more on TSMC being one of the big fab for manufacturing those. So India is reliant on semiconductors from chipset perspective. Almost $27 to $30 billion of semiconductors will be imported this year in India, and bulk of it, which are the high value items, are churning out from TSMC.
It's 2022 and everyone wants to be a creator. More importantly, everyone wants to know how to make a reel. Now I'm trying to figure out how to become a reels creator, and Shivan is going to tell us what's happening in the world of Instagram.
There was a major backlash which happened recently Instagram was trying to roll out certain features which were very much like TikTok, and people really had a major problem with that, because of which right from the testing stage only Instagram had to take those features back. They had to roll back those features. One of them being the kind of recommendations you get on your Instagram feed. Basically, when you're scrolling on Instagram, you are not just seeing content from people that you follow, you're seeing content from random people who you probably are not interested in anymore. I want to ask Manu, what do you feel about it? Have you faced this kind of an issue?
I recently noticed it, like in the past few weeks, I think 2 weeks, so I'm noticing that if I used to get any content on my feed, it used to be like, if I'm added on your Instagram, so if Shivan has liked it or Harjas has liked it. Right. But now I'm getting, nobody in my feed is liking it, and jo page hai, nobody is following that page, dur se koi, no connection.
But are you getting like TikTok feels when you see the kind of content that you're seeing on Instagram, or the way Instagram is, the direction in which it is going?
See reels as reels only. I used to think earlier ki haan, this is like TikTok, but now it has blended in so much into our system that it's just reels. Right. We call every short content reels, even anything which is of this vertical format, and since TikTok is not in India, so for us everything is reels.
This takes me to the next question I want to ask both of them. That recently on Instagram, if you have an account, you can very easily find this also, that first you had one tab for reels and another tab for your videos. Now you will only see one tab for your reels. All your videos and reels have got combined onto that. As people who use Instagram actively, regularly, who make content on it, I want to find out, is this a welcome move, or do you feel it's just cluttering things unnecessarily? What do you feel, Artis?
I think it simplifies things, because earlier you'd think that, okay, do I want to put a video post or do I want to put a reel? Even though I know that with reel I may get better engagement, I may get a better reach, but it's just that Instagram's algorithm is such, you want to also post a picture once in a while, you also want to post a video post once in a while as a creator, so that your profile is well managed, the algorithm is happy, right? But now I think that takes it away. You don't have to worry about posting it as a video. Yeah, it helps. It's just simple. It's simpler. And the fact that we call reels TikTok, it's just a video. You put it as a reel, you put it as a video post. If the content has matter, if it has actual potential, it would work.
So it's the content which really matters. What do you feel, man?
I think, see, YouTube Shorts, it's becoming active, very active. People used to go to YouTube. YouTube was just long content. If you want to watch short content, go on Instagram. If you want to watch long content, go on YouTube. And even YouTube is promoting YouTube Shorts via Instagram.
So while Instagram is still facing a backlash on the new features that they were trying to roll out, some of them it's good that they've rolled them back. But some features that they've added, it's okay. It's okay if Instagram is becoming more video based. Or photographs dekhne, you can go to Facebook. so I think that's the common sentiment here. And overall, I think this is the direction Instagram is going to take. We will be seeing more and more short content on all social media platforms in times to come.
Well, as always, it's been an action-packed episode of Tech Today. If you've liked the episode or haven't liked something about this episode, do write into us. I'm your host, Ayush Alavadi, saying adios.